What's happening, family? Welcome to the Damien Network. I'm your host, Damien, and I'm here joined by two wonderful guests, Herman Shelton and Glenn Foreman, and we're going to talk about the backside, the flip side of this mess, this drama, this saga that is Ed Reed versus Bethune Cookman. Who is at fault for for this huge debacle that we're seeing? And so let me just kind of give you a reset and recap where we are. And a few days ago, right here on this broadcast, we talked about Ed Reed's controversial comments, his IG live comments about the deficiencies and the issues within the university. And a lot of us said that, hey, that was unprofessional. That's not the way to go. I felt like Ed was not fit to be a head coach, and we wanted to see if they would let him go. And as we saw yesterday, a few days ago, that BCU officially put out a statement, and they essentially told Ed Reed, "You're not welcome on campus." And to say that they let him go is kind of tricky because he was never under contract. So you can't let somebody go that you never had under contract in the first place. And so I want to unpack this. And there were more tirades, a lot of conversations across the country about this particular subject. The students are also up in arms about it. Football players are putting out petitions. So a lot to kind of unpack here. But I want to talk to Herman and Glenn about this. Ed Reed versus Bethune Cookman. I see fault on both sides, right? And so, Glenn, I'll come to you first. Ed Reed versus Bethune Cookman. Who's at fault here, Glenn?
I think fault may be a hard word. We only blaming Ed Reed fault because of how he said it. If he would have came out and said it in a different way, we would never even be questioning him. It's just how he went about it. He went on social media, he was cursing, and that's where everybody's up in arms about what Ed Reed said. But the question is what he said facts? If it's facts, sometimes our emotions get the best of us. He ain't the first coach to cuss. Go back and watch Kirby Smart's all those backdoor locker room things he said, and nobody questioned that. Oh, he might have shouldn't have said that, but people are only up in arms because of how he said it. At the end of the day, if we got to place a fault, we got to place a fault on the president, the AD, or whoever even brought him in, because y'all should have vetted him way before that, or told him these things, or discussed all that. So I think Ed Reed just, at the end of the day, when he started looking around, looking at the law of the land, like, you know what, this some foolishness. How in the world? Let's just facts. Let's just put it on the table. How can the man office not be clean? We can deal with trash on the field or not having all the facilities, but simply the man office was not clean. The man said his office wasn't clean. Now, if his office wasn't clean, I can imagine how the facilities look. I can imagine how the practice field look. I mean, at the end of the day, man, this is a sad story for HBCU. This goes back to the reasons why our kids, including my son, who's now a sophomore, finna be a rising junior, who says, "Daddy, I don't want to go to them type of schools because of stuff like this." It's football. I don't care what nobody want to say. Football drives every college that's out there. Football drives your funding. Football drives your attendance. Football drives kids to come to school. It's football. And for Cookman to still have this blind mindset as if football doesn't matter is crazy. It is. Listen,
So
I went to Cookman.
okay. So what's it? So tell me what the experience was like. You went to Cookman. What was that experience like? Firsthand experience here.
Man, when I got to Cookman,
And be frank with us. Be honest. People need to know.
when I got to Cookman, I literally just gave up. I gave up on football. And at the time, Alvin White was there, which I don't fault him or anything, but just the resources. First of all, you don't have a home field. You don't have a home field. Your practice field is not that big. I had the weight room, once again, is not that big. So what are you showing these college freshman athletes to why you want to come here? Everything is outdated at Cookman. I mean, that alone is an issue. stuff. How can you still be having the weight room in a trailer if I'm not mistaken?
So, oh, okay, Glenn, I understand. You're upset. You feel that there's a lot of fault on the university, lack of resources. But let me say this before coming to you, Herman. Let me just say a few things here. Um, First and foremost, Ed Reed did not have a contract. And so in my view, that was sloppy on both sides. He never should have come on campus and moved around in any official capacity until the ink was dry. He played in the NFL for a long time, and I'm sure he had an agent handling his business. So I don't know why he didn't have an agent handling the business here, right? And if he had issues about things that he saw as he walked the campus, then you can also put that in your contractual negotiating kind of situation and say, hey, before I sign, I want to see these things taken care of. I want to see progress with this XYZ kind of stipulations. That should have been what we can't do is excuse Ed's tirade. I get it. Coaches curse, but they don't do it on Facebook Live for the world to see, right? And so we're not asking Ed to be perfect, but that's just unprofessionalism at the outstart, and you can't excuse that. But I'm not saying that Ed was wrong in terms of the things that he was trying to lift up and talk about. But what I keep hearing him talk about here is trash. He keeps consistently talking about trash, right? Trash in a building. I'm like, are you really this upset, brother, over trash? Now, does I mean, sounds
But
like to me that
Damien,
maybe,
I don't mean to interrupt you, Damien, but
yeah.
what Mama used to say, if you respect your household, you respect the institution. So let's look at the broader scope. How you gonna respect
Yeah,
where you come home to if your home is trashed? They just told him, hey,
yeah.
this is how we feel about this university. Here's your office. I've been there. I was there. I was there for 3 weeks. Same
Hmm.
situation.
Hmm.
I walked Ed Reed's shoes. I've
Hmm.
seen
Hmm.
it. You got an athletic director who's a head coach. They're in the middle of SWAC season. Who does that? Is this a Division I program or not? This is not NAIA. You should have never came to the SWAC if you didn't want to take this,
Hmm.
your athletic department serious. You ran over here because of FAMU decided to come to the SWAC out of the MEAC. Okay, but you have a president that decided that, hey, Theus was our guy, and Theus, was a basketball coach in one of the California schools and wasn't successful there. Never been an administrator in any division. He was a TV guy. Now you bring who's at fault? Both is at fault. I blame Ed Reed for putting himself in a situation without vetting Bethune Cookman, because all he had to do was make a phone call to the last football coach
Sure.
and say, hey, is this a real stop for me? I blame his agent for not vetting the situation. I cold-heartedly blame Bethune
Hmm.
Cookman because they was already behind the 8 ball. Now imagine how much further. Who wants to take this job? A desperate coach who's willing
Dude,
to take in
Yeah.
signing day is right
who's
around the corner.
what signing
Signing day,
day is what in 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
yes.
What kids are you about to get? Because you didn't have no kids. And I told you before that this was a hard job to begin with because this is a private institution. You can't get them dogs like
Right. Right.
Deion Sanders did at Jackson State and what he's doing at Colorado, because they was like, you know
Right.
what? This is Deion. We're gonna open up how we're gonna take transfers at Colorado
Yeah,
because
they
they
did. They
understood the
did.
only way you're gonna win right away is getting these dogs in here. Ed Reed could have got these dogs, but it's Bethune Cookman. It's a private institution. They're not gonna take everybody's credit. So you're not gonna
Mhm.
be able to bring the Louis Vuittons into this facility when you got a project for a facility. Okay, they keep blaming the hurricanes. Your facilities were crap before these hurricanes. Now you can say you left a door open during the hurricane so you can get some insurance money and redo some of these facilities. But at the end of the day, your facilities weren't there. Now, granted, their medical facilities, their weight rooms, all that got renovated. That's nice. I don't know what they call that of a basketball gym. It's a nice what you call environment for a basketball game, but it's not a D1 gym. You know, it's a great environment. You have the kids, you know, all on the side of the, you know, the gym floor. You know, it reminds of our
Mhm.
days of go sit down, and you know, we're close to getting on the floor at Texas Southern. But Bethune Cookman don't have the facilities. So at the end of the day, I
Right,
blame
right,
Ed
right.
Reed for not vetting this situation before he got there, and I blame Bethune Cookman. You wanted a name of a coach. That's what you got. That's like me bringing in what's Ray Lewis. I know what I'm bringing in. I'm bringing somebody with a mouth that's going to bring attention
Mhm.
to whatever we have. So you I remember Coach Hop, who used to be at Alcorn. He used to always say, you know, be careful what you ask for. You might just get it. They asked for this when they signed this man to say, "Hey, we bringing you in." This is what they asked for. This is what you signed up for, and the president wants to be. This is not the. Then didn't you sign off on this head coach? So if you didn't sign off on this head coach being the head coach of your institution, then what are you doing, Mr. President? This is your job. That football is the second big, if not the biggest hire you make on your university, aside from athletic director. That's your job, Mr. President. So what are you doing in your office on Bethune campus during the middle of holidays announcing we're gonna bring Ed Reed in, and
So
you don't have nobody to circle him around and say, "Hey,
yeah.
coach, this is how we do at Bethune."
So so let me hop in. Good point. Good point. Right. Why if the ink wasn't even dry, why are we even announcing that this is a relationship and some, because we all understood
Because
that
that's
the ink was dry,
I'm
the contract was.
Because
Damien.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know
be
how that
honest. That's
gets
how
out.
more. That's how most university does, because you still got to bring it in front of the board. You have what you call in principle, which he did. Okay, but you're in a like, but usually this coaching hires before the holiday break or right after, so you're not making that announcement unless you're real close on these parameters. They weren't even
Yeah.
close.
but they
By the
brought
sound
their
of it, they weren't even close, or they brought in some provision. They say they probably told him, "Hey, you gonna have to do this." He like, "Nah, you're not about to put me in some cocoon." That's like you asking
So
Deion Sanders to put himself in a shell of a box, and you can't do that.
Glenn,
man,
Glenn,
they,
jump in.
they, they, they threw that name out there to do just what it did. It brought attention. Soon as I know plenty of Cookman graduates, when they heard the name Ed Reed, the alumni went crazy. Oh boy, we got Ed Reed. You got kids now saying they transferred to Cookman because of Ed Reed. I know kids that's on that team right now, kids that's walking on that say, man, I'm gonna stay at Cookman because of Ed Reed. You literally had the entire fan base to get excited because in their mind, they said, we're now getting ready to look like Jackson State. We got a
Mm,
multi-million-dollar
mm,
coach that's getting ready to come in, finna relight the fire. We're gonna kick fam's butt for the next 3 or 4 years. We finna be this
mhm,
school
mhm.
again, quote unquote, that we're gonna be. And you couldn't tell people from Bethune Cookman that they wasn't the new thing on. They was the new thing since sliced bread. As soon as the name Ed Reed came out, me and you had that conversation. Said, man, Ed Reed gonna be the coach, and I say, man, Ed Reed is not going to. And sure enough, when he came, everybody was, and people from FAMU was like, oh, dang. Like, oh. But once
I don't
again,
know why they were scared. I don't know why they were scared. Come on, it's still Bethune Cookman. You still got to recruit. You know,
But
let's be
but
honest.
listen,
Bethune is on the bottom.
listen.
They are
but
not spending no money at Bethune.
but they felt like Ed gonna be able to sway some of these Miami kids. They might not have been 5 stars, but he'll be able to get some of these kids
Oh yeah.
and sway them to Cookman. And he was gonna be able to get some people out of the transfer portal because they're gonna come play for Cookman.
Mhm.
Daytona ain't the greatest place to live in, but nothing against you, Damon. Jackson, Mississippi ain't the greatest place to live in either. At least they got running water at the beach. And so he was gonna be able to sell them something, that they thought they could. And the alumni was excited.
But it's wait. But it's Jackson State, and they were already holding 40,000 people in a stadium. They can't even hold 1,000 people
Right.
at that what they call that little park. That little park, that Pee Wee Stadium they got over
But
there.
listen,
Come on
listen,
now.
They go
listen.
for the
Let's
But
let's
but,
house.
let's be
listen.
honest.
But hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Listen. Well, y'all, well, y'all, listen. I feel you. Let me transition to this next question, though. Right. And so I saw I think a lot of us saw, and I posted it on Facebook, the video of Ed talking to, I think he hosted about 30 recruits this weekend on the campus of Bethune. In that video, I saw recruits, I saw current football players, I saw parents as well. I'm sure there's a lot of excitement around coming to Bethune to play for Ed Reed as well. And essentially, they informed him as he's speaking to these kids that they want to part ways with him. Now, my sources tell me that they told him a few days ago to cancel the recruit weekend, and he did not do so, is what I was told. And so it was kind of embarrassing and sloppy for that news to come down to him again in front of those parents, in front of those roots. A lot of those kids that's their only visit, their last chance to try to get a D1 situation or whatever. And that news comes down, and you can see that Ed Reed is crushed and continues to vent, and he's frustrated about it. But lost in all of this are the student athletes, are the kids, right? And so, Glenn, I'll come to you on this one, and Herman, I want you to, as parents, how do you think this is going to impact those kids and that program going forward? And as parents, how, if you were there that weekend and saw, how would you feel would be your takeaway walking from everything that you saw when you first?
Man, if I was a parent, that would be crushing. Truthfully, it'll be a crushing blow. It'll be a crushing blow, not to me, but to my child. Mm-hmm. I can see his face of saying, man, I think about going to Cookman because of Ed Reed, and to hear that news, I know my son, he would probably be like, no, I ain't coming now. And as a parent, if I saw the unbalance from the president to the, dealing with the coaching, that right there gonna tell you, that tells you enough as it is, that this guy, because first of all, you got to think about it. The possibility of the people that recruited you are going to be there with your child for the next 4 years, next 3 years, the next 5 years is very slim. Because the possibility of somebody either getting fired or transitioning into another school is the likelihood that will happen instead of a coach being there forever. But unfortunately, within the HBCUs, the coaches stays forever. But if you just look at Cincinnati, I know a young man went to Cincinnati, and Fickle, if I'm not mistaken, he left and he went to Wisconsin. So yep. that would be so that would be the unbalanced situation. Now, if you still, who's ever there, can still say it's a full ride, this, we would still have to consider it. But I would definitely know who the coach is. We gotta know who we playing for.
Yeah, so, but let me say this as I come to you. I was talking to a buddy earlier today, and I made this point. I get it, right? Listen, I graduated from a black boarding school, a high school called the Piney Wood School. It was a great institution, but we didn't have everything. It was all hands on deck around making things work around that university. I mean, around that high school, because we didn't have all the resources, right? I went to Texas Southern. A lot more resources, but it's still in some situations all hands on deck. We understand that HBCUs is all hands on deck. And so here my thinking is this: if I'm a kid that's looking for a D1 opportunity and to get a free ride at a university and play the game that I love, right? But in as a trade-off, maybe I gotta pick up a little trash here and there. I'm okay with that. I'm telling my kid, like, hey, if they're gonna give you a scholarship and you ain't got one nowhere else, go there and pick up some trash, dude. Pick it up around the house. It's not the end of the world, but I get it. It's not ideal for you to do it, but hey, what's up some trash though? But Herman, I'm coming as a parent. What would be your take as you see these type of things happen if they're recruiting your kid?
Well, what I see is there's no stability. Where's the foundation? There's none. So you can't build a house on a broken foundation. So I, as a parent, it's like, hey, we dodged the bullet, because that means Ed Reed wasn't going to be there that very long. And that's probably not by his choice. Mm-hmm. Theus is not a confrontational guy. He's not going to be able. He wasn't going to be able to handle that persona. Whereas if we look at AD Ashley Reed at Jackson State, he was able to handle that persona. He didn't have to be in the spotlight. He could play back, he could play his role as an athletic director and let my head coach shine and bring what I need to it. They weren't able to do that. They wasn't going to be able to do that at Bethune. So I tell my child, hey, this wasn't the opportunity for us. We need to seek other opportunities. This is a life learned lesson. Not everything's going to work out. We're going to go ahead and take another right turn, and we're going to find the right fit and situation for us. That's simple. It's a life lesson.
Right.
I don't think trash was the issue, Damien. I don't think it will be.
But that's what he kept bringing up. I'm just going by what he said.
It was a trigger. It was a trigger. It was a trigger. That's all that was.
We talk about athletes. Athletes always do something out of the ordinary. Coaches make athletes do stuff. Hey, man, Jim Harbaugh had them running through this, or we going up here to practice this. And so I don't even think trash was the issue. It was a bigger issue, but trash he was just showing you. And I think that also speaks to Ed Reed, that the simple things of we can't get trash picked up tells me that there's a bigger problem. If I'm walking around here and you couldn't have one office clean for me to come into an empty office, it's a bigger problem. That's what I believe. I don't think if my son plays high school football. Hey, Daddy, we had to clean up the stadium. Okay. Our dad, we had to rake the field. My son played at a school for baseball. It was left up to them when the game was over. They took the bases up. They watered the field. But they had a guy who would come back and get on the lawnmower and drag the field and all that. But when games were over, that's what they were responsibility. I coached middle school football. It was some games after home games, we had to go clean up the field, even as a coach. So I don't think the trash was the issue. That was just a small inkling of him saying, like, do y'all see how this is a problem here? We can't get trash picked up, so I know we can't get the other stuff taken care of.
So let me interject. We're talking about Ed Reed versus Bethune Cookman University on the Damien Network. Who's at fault here? And I'm gonna come to you in a second, Herman. But I want to point this out too. I did some research and I also found this out too. Listen, I love Ed Reed, the Hall of Famer. I love the football player. I love his passion. But just to be frank, he's not ready to be a head coach. And I don't know if he's ready to be a position coach right now, because he needs some professional development training to learn how to be a pro on a university and to know how to work through certain challenges. And here's why I say this is the big reason I say this. There's a report, and I saw it substantiated, but I saw something that confirmed it in my mind. A football player said it in an interview, and I'll send that to y'all. He said that Ed got mad while they were picking up trash with the players, and some of the players took a break from picking up trash. And he said Ed got mad and punched the windshield of his golf cart, right? And so I was like, wow, that's crazy. And so I went in. So there's a YouTube video of Ed and Edge, Ezra and James, touring the campus, and they're riding in the golf cart. And on that golf cart windshield, you can see it is shattered. Right, so I'm like, why is this Hall of Fame coach driving around with a shattered windshield on his golf cart? Why would they give him that one? Unless he ruined it himself, right? So Ed has some things he needs to smooth out and work through. I get the pass, right? 4th down in the AFC Championship game, that passion works. But now you're in a situation like this, you got to know how to curb that and handle that the right way. But here's what, if I was Ed, here's what I would do. If I saw trash on the campus, I would find the buildings and grounds director, and I would say, hey, Mr. Tommy, hey, I'm here, I'm new here, need you. We need all hands on deck. I see some trash over here in this building, man. Can you go over there and take care of that for me, please? The kids need it. We really appreciate it, right? Get buy-in from Mr. Tommy. Make him feel appreciated as to what we're trying to do as a collective, right? So there's some tact that you have to use, right? I know he's frustrated about the trade. I would be too, but there's a way to go talk to the people, fix it, not to Facebook Live people that fix it, right? That said, Herman, I'm coming to you. How long-term, maybe immediate impact and long-term, how does all of this mess impact the football program? Do they need to scrap the football program? Can it still remain somewhat viable, or do they need to scrap it? How does this impact the program, short term and long term, in your opinion?
Short term it hurts. I mean, that's like my counterpart said, recruiting season is right around the corner. I don't have the exact date, but I mean it's within a couple of. I mean it's February. I believe it's signing day. You don't have a coach. Who's running who's running the asylum over there? Who's running who's there with the football program right now? Because they didn't even name there's no interim head coach. They never named the interim head coach after they fired after they let old ball coach go last time. So who's running the program? Who's still getting these recruits in to talk? Because it's a every turning cycle. So you can't leave a recruit for 2 seconds because there's another school that's saying, hey, they don't have a coach. So who you gonna try to go play for? They don't have the resources. I mean, they're using everything. If it's a battle between FAMU and Bethune, sucks. If it's a battle between Mississippi Valley and Bethune, I'll go to Mississippi Valley, and we know they ain't got nothing out there.
Wow.
So the only thing Bethune got for them is the beach. And trust me, I mean it's cute and all, but I mean you get tired of the beach after a while. So at the end of the day, it hurts them as a program long term. You talking about you had NFL and celebrities talking about they were about to put some money behind this man's name, and some folks was like, well, they should do it behind the school. Who's running the program? Why am I going to put money behind Reggie Theus? Reggie Theus been there over a year and a half now. What money has he brought in? And he's supposed to be a celebrity. He came from major TV. He played in the NBA. Now I'm still trying to question his coaching background, but he haven't brought any. Where's his NBA money? So at the end of the day, it hurts. Not only did this situation hurt them short, but it hurt them in long term because they got to scrap everything, meaning that they need to replow the field and try to lay another foundation. But can you do that with that president that's over the university? Because if I'm the board, I'm questioning the president and I'm questioning the athletic director. Because if this was any other PWI or any other university, somebody's coming home to roost besides that football coach. Because we're not even a month in because they made this announcement December 20. Who makes an announcement 2 days after Christmas? In between Christmas and New Year's. So it haven't even been 30 days. And this was a slap in the face. But you're talking about an athletic department that barely has a golf coach, that barely had the facilities, So it's like, what are we doing, Bethune? You have a prestigious university. What are we doing, Bethune? That's the question we should ask, Bethune. What are we doing?
But
go ahead, Glenn.
Because I definitely disagree with you on number one. Can he be a head coach? Yes. Is there some things he has to polish up? Sure. Position coach, definitely. No way he. I mean, I don't know what you're drinking in that cup.
But I'm saying, what coach in America can smash golf carts because they're mad about something?
Man, nobody.
You talking about feelings and you're talking about emotions, but you talking about one of the better safeties in the NFL, one of the better defensive-minded coaches.
But you don't say
at some point he has to learn how to be a professional, though. I understand that, but that doesn't excuse bad behavior.
Have you ever questioned Nick Saban when he throw his headset and cuss the coach and go off on his coaches?
I don't like it. I mean, my policy is.
But he's a good coach.
Privately. He okay.
He can go to college football. What are you talking about? Man, no. Listen, do we have to? His emotions is what make him. Do we have to curve his emotions with some things? Sure. But I think about, once again, because my son plays football. I'll never forget when he was younger, my wife used to always be like, I don't like them coaches just talking to my son any kind of way. Now that he's in high school and he don't get coached hard like that, you know what my wife say? He can't play for that coach. Because it's the game of football. So was he wrong for punching the golf cart? Sure. Once again, we play. That is the most violent sport. And I ain't gonna say that's the most violent because getting hit.
It's violent.
It's violent. Driving the car. But football ain't for the faint at heart. So you might get cussed out. You might get something thrown at you. Nobody said. I used to. Bobby Knight was throwing chairs, and he was considered a great coach.
Bobby Knight, he's not coaching no more neither. So it's a different era, and I get it. You can ask,
exactly.
you can ask Cynthia Cooper, who was, I think, a great HBCU ball coach, and ask her within 5 years from when she took over the job in 2012. So she was at Prairie View beforehand. So Coop she was there. She was a great coach. She was a very hard coach. Man, she would cuss. She cuss worse than a doggone sailor. But these new kids are different. But at the end of the day, I disagree with you, David. He was with the Bills. I believe it was with the Bills as a position coach. Then went and was how they do it now, where he's an analyst but an extra coach on the field basically for Miami for a couple of years. So you talking about? I think was he suited for the job? If he had the foundation there, yes, he would have succeeded. All you had to do was put him around coaches that knew the system, knew the HBCU rank. So you get a Harrell that was at Jackson State. You get a Thurman that's been around. So you get coaches that's been around. You get that foundation piece, and then you piece your people together so you can have an all-star cast. He never had a chance to do that. He came in. He came in, and you talking about? Let's look at the rug they threw out for Deion Sanders at Colorado. I bet you his office was clean, and within a month he had a whole new digs. And granted, they can't do that at Bethune, but can we at least clean the man's office?
Well, no. Let me say this.
Jackson State. The man office was clean at Jackson State. They threw a parade for Deion.
No. Let me say this. Jackson State is different. Y'all can't compare yourselves to this, bro. It's just different, no, right? So, but hear me out. I got two more questions for you. Then we're gonna get out of here on the Damian Network. Make sure you like this broadcast, share this broadcast. Let us know what you think in the comments. Ed Reed versus Bethune Cookman. Who is at fault? There's this phenomena though that's happening with these celebrity coaches or big name coaches, big time players coming into coach HBCU to change the culture, right? In some instances, you have coaches who have coached before. Hugh Jackson has a ton of experience, but on the other hand, Eddie George came in with no coaching experience, as I understand, right? Deion Sanders came in with no collegiate head coaching experience, but some coaching at the high school level as well. Ed Reed,
successful coaching. Let's get that right. He had successful coaching in high school. Okay, he did it the right way. People was like, "Oh, Coach Sanders didn't have no." He was successful up there in North Texas.
They weren't playing nobody, Herman. But I hear you, bro. But listen, But
you saw what he did at Jackson State, though.
No, for sure. I'm okay. Let me just make this point. I don't think Deion is a great X and O coach. I think he lacks in X's and O's. I don't think he's a great schematic coach. I think he's brilliant as a leader because he knows what he ain't good at, and he surrounds himself with people that are good at the X's and O's at each position level. And he just gets out of the way, talks his stuff, raises funds, and that's what the smart leaders do. He's just a facilitator. I get it, but I don't want to get on that point. But what I'm saying is this phenomenon of these coaches, do we think this trend is going to continue, right? Because I think coaches I think guys need to respect the craft of coaching, right? Because you look at a Deion with all his luster and lore, went into the Celebration Bowl 2 years in a row and got whooped by coaches that have been around, little name coaches that have put their head down and respected the craft for so many years, right? And so there's something about finding a coach that doesn't have a big name but has the chops on his resume that he's earned his way up and respected the craft of coaching, right? And that's what I'm talking about. Ed learning that craft of coaching at the collegiate level and what it means to burn that midnight oil and lead in a certain way. But do we think this type of drama is going to hurt that phenomena of these Hall of Fame people and big name guys coming in and trying to help a HBCU? Anybody can take that.
No, people play for these kids play for names. All that playing for the university, man, these kids are playing for a couple of things. NIL deals and the coaches they like. That's why they don't mind transferring. That's what they playing for, man. And every time you have a big name coach, or you have a coach that these kids look up to, or that they have respect for, they will go play for that coach before they go play for
the university.
That's just, I'm just saying, being in the house with a 15-year-old kid who now looks at the HBCU ranks because of a Dion, now would do his research to say, I'll go play for that coach, that coach, that coach, that coach. Just think about it. Kids go to Alabama not because it's Alabama. They go to Alabama because a couple of things. Number one, it's Alabama and Nick Saban's the coach. And if I can play wide receiver, or running back, or linebacker, or DB, or offensive line, or D-line, my likelihood of going to the league is great. So just imagine, once again, those kids was coming to Cookman not because of Daytona, not because of Mary McLeod Bethune. They was coming because of Ed Reed. Travis Hunter didn't not go to Florida State because it was. He went to Jackson State because it was Dion. He's considered the greatest corner that ever was. And if I can learn from the greatest corner that ever is, that possibly can promote me to the league, then why not go? So that will continue to happen. Those big name coaches that transcend will go. I guarantee. Just look at and it's just on a different look at with basketball and all these parents, these guys who now becoming coaches that kids want to play for. Kendrick Perkins and Carmelo and Chris Paul. These kids today care about a couple of things: NIL deals and who their coach is. And that's not going anywhere, bro. It's not.
What's your thoughts, Herman?
I 100% agree. I mean, Jack, again, Dion kind of laid the way, but I mean, there's always been big name coaches coming into our ranks. I mean, again, Cynthia Cooper going to, being brought into at Prairie View before coming down to Texas Southern. You talking about Mike Davis coming in to Texas Southern and being able to lay the foundation to what we have now. So there's always these big coaches coming into to our little bitty HBCUs, but at the end of the day, they go either succeed or they're not. Eddie Robinson Jr. at Alabama State, that was supposed to be a big hire, and he said, "Who's swag?" But Eddie Robinson Jr. Look, Alabama State had the best facility. Look, you know how Nick, our good old buddy Nick, like to say, facilities.
Oh yeah.
Alabama State got the best facilities in the SWAC for the last 15 years? 15 years. Name one SWAC championship they won since they got their brand new facility. 0. They lost to Alcorn State 5 years in a row. What facilities Alcorn State has? They've been losing to Jackson State the last couple of years. How many good facilities they have? I mean, they just got it. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's about who you can bring in to rev up the masses. Mike Davis, as calm and collected as he was, boy, we had some fun up in that HPE arena when he was there. Jesus. So it's about the persona of the coach, and how he fits within the dynamic of that university. Ed Reed did not fit in within the Bethune Cookman little, persona that they have. He didn't fit. It's just, yes, at the end of the day, our coach, we're going to continue to get our celebrity coaches. At the end of the day, we're going to continue because we need that limelight at the end of the day.
So last question, but y'all made me think about something a minute ago. Let me say this: I have great respect for Bethune Cookman University. Enter to learn, depart to serve.
And a debt.
Do y'all think, huh?
And a debt. You're gonna enter to learn, depart to serve, and you're gonna have bad credit. But that's neither here nor there.
They ain't gonna teach you about credit there because they still working on their own as a university. So
let me last question. One of each of you all. I'll Herman first. Who's the next coach, head football coach at Bethune Cookman University?
That's a $1 million question. I hope, there's a coach out there by the name of Chendris Berry that I really like. I love him to death. I'm telling him to run. Don't do it. I look. Basically, any coaches that's out there right now, don't do it. Just don't. Because I mean, right now it's gonna be you're not gonna succeed these next few years. So why even try to put yourself into that situation? You can't even use it. Who can use Bethune Cookman as a stepping stone right now? So to be honest, you're gonna get some, somebody that ain't not supposed to be a head coach right now, not even supposed to be a position coach, gonna try to take over an asylum that can't be run right now. So to be honest, if in a perfect world, boy, you be Berry, come on down. That's the best coach right now. That's in HBCU football. That should be at a D at our FCS level. But no, let's stay where you at, Berry. Do not come down to Bethune Cookman. Find you somebody, some little bitty guy that somebody that's got 1-2 years in the game. That hey, we're gonna give him a 10-year contract. Do what you got to do, because that's the only way I'm going is a 10-year contract, and for a lot of money. And if you fire me, look, at least I know I'm sitting on something. So I can't do it. Some of these schools doing 2 and 3 year, 10 years, 10-year contract. Because look, you talking about you got to build a program from scratch, and this was a winning program in the MEAC. Before old boy left to Alabama State, it was a winning program. So for it to go downhill because of the budget cuts and the money problems at Bethune Cookman, and you understand the situation, but as of right now, it's not a viable program. So would I attach my name to it without a long-term contract guaranteed? No.
Man, who's the next coach?
Listen, either whoever on staff now make them the head coach.
It should be you.
What?
It should be you.
Man, I'm gonna tell you who they should hire. They need to go to Daytona Mainland, the high school, and go make their head coach the college football coach, and hopefully he can get everybody who is senior at Daytona Mainland and everything in Daytona to come, because at least he got some connection with the kids.
That's the school that's right down the street, right? Got Vince Carter and Auditorium.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you go get some of the, I think of the names that I was there. Go get an Alan Suber, who was a quarterback. Go get Rasheed Matthews. See if he'll, you got to go get former Cookman players. I say Patel, it's some other Nick Collins, who I think played for Green Bay. You got to get somebody. But if if it was me for recruiting purposes of right now, man, I'm going to get that high school coach from Mainland, man, to say, hey, listen, man, we'll give you $1 million. And like Bruh said, we'll figure it out from there. And if it don't work, go back to Mainland. Hey, coach both of them. Coach the high school.
Just be your part-time.
Since the AD coach, since he the AD and the head basketball coach, I mean, I don't know. Because it's too late.
Man.
Listen, it is too late. Like, for real. Signing day is in 2 weeks. And I know some kids that are on that team right now. Huh?
Oh yeah. Hey, we don't even need the SWAC poll this year. We know Bethune Cookman number 10 this year. We don't even need to do the HBCU poll because they're all the way in the bottom. We don't got to worry about Bethune Cookman this year doing anything. It's okay, Bethune. You know what? It's a wash. Just bust these kids everywhere. Save your money. No new uniforms, nothing. It's a wash this year. Let's start working for 2024.
I mean, that's the rate it's going, man. Because first of all, you're not even gonna be able to go in the portal and get kids. You talking about spring practice should be starting now.
Practice? We talking about practice? Hold up, not practice, bro. We got to worry about trying to get these kids into school.
Let's get out of here. Bethune Cookman versus Ed Reed. We see what's happening. I also know that some of the kids have said that they won't play for anybody but Ed Reed. So stay tuned. The football team may walk out and leave the entire university for all we know. But maybe Bethune may change course and bring Ed Reed back, given the pressure from the students and the student athletes. So who knows? Stay tuned. Thank you, Herman. Thank you, Glenn. Really appreciate it. Make sure you like this broadcast and share this broadcast as well. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Appreciate you watching. This is the Damien Network.